I made a move on my husband at the worst possible time. You ever say something and immediately wish you could rewind time? Not just because it came out wrong, but because deep down, you knew better. That's what happened to me. It was supposed to be a quiet night, the kind where you just curl up beside the person you love and let the weight of the day melt away in shared silence. But instead, I said the absolute worst thing I could have said. At the absolute worst moment. We're on this journey toward parenthood, my husband and I. It's something he's dreamed about for years. For him, becoming a father isn't just a want, it's a part of who he is. For me, I could take it or leave it. Not out of coldness, just honesty. I love our life together. If it stays just us, I'm okay with that. But for him, it's deeper. It's legacy. It's healing. It's something sacred. So when yet another part of the process fell apart, a surrogate we'd spent weeks talking to changed her mind. I watched him crumble beside me, quietly, painfully. And instead of holding space for his heartbreak, I tried to fix the moment. With a joke, with sex, with the wrong words. I thought I was being playful. I thought I was offering intimacy. What I was really doing was missing the moment entirely. This is the story of how I tried to connect with the man I love and accidentally pushed him further away than I ever expected. When we first started talking about having kids, I knew it meant more to him than it did to me. He lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years, the kind of brightness that's hard to fake. He had a vision: weekend soccer games, first words, tiny hands holding his finger. He wanted bedtime stories and scraped knees and a little person to pour love into. I just wanted him to be happy. That was enough for me. At first, I thought we'd breeze through the process. Save money, contact the agency, start planning. But it didn't take long to realize that this journey wasn't simple. Not for a queer couple, not in today's world. The laws, the paperwork, the costs, the waiting, the emotional weight. Then came the surrogate search. We found someone we both liked. Kind eyes, stable background, good energy. There were Zoom calls and contracts and careful, hopeful optimism. But after weeks of back and forth, she backed out. No real explanation, just gone. It hit him hard. He said he understood that these things happen, but that night in bed, his silence said otherwise. He lay there on his side, shoulders tense, breaths shallow. I reached over, touched his back. He flinched a little, not out of anger, but fragility, like he was trying to keep himself from falling apart. "Are you okay?" I whispered. He didn't answer for a long time. Then finally, "It's just exhausting." I nodded, but I didn't feel it the way he did. Not really. I could acknowledge his pain, but I couldn't access the same depth of grief. For me, this wasn't a life or death moment. It was a delay, a detour, something we'd figure out. For him, it was another heartbreak in a long line of them. Another door closed on a dream. I tried to hold him, but he just stayed still. I could tell he wasn't angry. He was just somewhere else. And here's where I messed up. I was horny. I'll admit it. We hadn't been intimate in weeks. Not because we didn't love each other, but because stress is the ultimate libido killer. The pressure, the tension, the constant planning. I missed him, missed us, missed feeling close, missed laughing, missed all the tiny moments that make marriage feel like a home. So, with all the delicacy of a wrecking ball, I rolled on top of him and, God help me, said, "If you want a baby so bad, we could just keep trying the old-fashioned way." It was meant to be flirty. It came off like mockery. He froze, like I dumped cold water on his soul. And then he slowly, gently shifted out from under me and sat on the edge of the bed. "You're not serious," he said, not angrily, just hollow. I sat up, blanket still tangled around me, heart dropping into my stomach. I mean, I was just trying to what? He asked, finally turning to look at me. His eyes were wet, red at the edges. Not furious, just betrayed. I'm lying here, falling apart, he said. And you think now's a good time for a joke about something I've been dreaming about for years? His voice wasn't raised. That almost made it worse. I'm sorry, I whispered. I thought it'd lighten the mood. He shook his head slowly. You weren't listening. Those 3 words cut more than anything else. He stood up, grabbed a pillow, and walked out of the room without slamming the door. It was worse than anger. It was distance. I spent the night in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. The silence was unbearable. Every creak of the house felt like judgment. Every hour that passed was a reminder of how badly I'd misread the moment. I kept replaying the scene in my head. How I'd tried to be playful. How I'd completely ignored what he actually needed. Not sex, not distraction, but compassion. And then I thought deeper. Why was it so easy for me to detach from this journey? Why was my default to dismiss his pain? The truth hit me harder than I expected. Maybe because I wasn't emotionally invested. I'd never really stepped into his world. Not fully. I'd supported the logistics, signed the forms, talked to the agency, discussed finances. But I hadn't sat beside him in the feelings, hadn't grieved with him, hadn't dreamed with him. And now, the gap between us was showing. The next morning, I made coffee and waited for him in the kitchen. When he finally walked in, eyes puffy from lack of sleep, I stood up too fast, like I could fix things with a quick gesture. I'm sorry, I said before he could speak. That was unbelievably stupid. He didn't say anything at first, just nodded, sat down. I sat across from him, hands trembling slightly around my mug. I think I was trying to get something from you instead of giving you what you needed, I said. And that's not fair. He stared into his coffee. I wanted connection, I continued. But you needed comfort. And I wasn't listening. Not really. I heard your words, but I didn't hear your heart. Finally, he looked up at me. I know this isn't your dream, he said softly. And I appreciate you being in it with me anyway. But I need to know that when it hurts, when something like last night happens, you're going to meet me there, not escape it. I nodded, tears prickling. I will, I promised. I didn't last night, but I want to. I'm learning, and I want to do better. He didn't smile, but he reached across the table and held my hand. That meant everything. Later that day, we took a walk, talked about next steps. Not plans, just feelings. He told me how much the rejection had gutted him. I told him how scared I was that I wouldn't be enough, that he'd someday resent me for not feeling as deeply. He told me it's not about being equal, it's about being present. We walked for an hour, didn't solve anything, but we started healing. And that night, we held each other. No jokes, no distractions, just closeness. I still don't know what our parenthood journey will look like. I still have my fears. He still has his grief, but we're learning how to hold both. And next time he's hurting, I'll shut up. Because love, real love, doesn't always need a punchline. Sometimes, it just needs silence and a hand to hold in the dark. Do you like stories like this? Click here to watch more.